I couldn't help but notice today that with all the coverage of the March for Our Lives in Washington, that there were still some people missing from that conversation. Now I understand for identity politics, they put certain people in place, yet there's still a community of people missing, and I think that community needs to have representation. So son, several years ago, you, your mom, and your sister were out, and I was meeting you guys. Before I could get there, a bad guy noticed you guys. He ran over towards you with a gun. Your mom had to jump in the backseat of the car to shield you and your sister. I showed up right in time. I made him stop. How does that make you feel?
That my family is safe because we were there.
What did he have that he was going to cause harm with?
A firearm.
What did Dad have to make him stop?
A firearm.
Sweetheart, does Daddy love you?
Yes.
Are you my world?
Yes.
Are you my everything?
Yes.
Does Daddy have guns?
Yes.
Does Daddy allow you to get hurt with guns?
No.
Are we a safe family?
Yes.
Are we a responsible family?
Yes.
And what is Daddy to you?
My hero.
Oh, you're so sweet. And what is Dad to you?
The protector of the family.
And what are you going to be one day?
The protector of my own family.
It's kind of funny that they don't give us any camera time. They don't want to speak to the real, true American families. They just want to give you one imagery. They don't want to show you everything. Gun owners are not evil monsters. We are not people that are out murdering children. I love my kids. I love your kids. I love our communities. We just want to make sure that we have the right to protect ourselves from evil people like the man that attempted to kill my wife and kids. And I don't see anything wrong with that. We are a loving family, and we are gun owners. Too bad America won't show you that.
Is your child defiant, independent, annoyingly inquisitive? After a long, hard day of following the rules, who wants to deal with troublesome kids? 49% of children suffer from oppositional defiant disorder, or ODD. Symptoms of ODD include independent thought, rampant creativity, and failure to submit to authority. But now there's a solution. The good people at Pilfer can help you with their time-release, once-daily capsule, Compliacin. Your child won't be able to form his own opinions, let alone express them. It maintains your child's ability to go to a state-run school and perform simple tasks around the house. You won't have to worry about parenting, and the school won't have to deal with your kid asking questions. Compliacin. You'll go from this.
Quit telling me what to do! Quit telling me what to do! Quit telling me what to do!
To this.
Good morning, Mother. I love going to school. And this week we're learning all about how the government is our federal family and they're here to help us.
Compliacin. Talk to your school psychiatrist and ask for it by name.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Peaceful Anarchism on the Voluntary Virtues Network, on theconsciousresistance.com and solpodcast.org. That's Seeds of Liberty podcast. So today I am delighted. Actually, before I get into that, we have we're covered by the BIPCOT No Government License. This allows reuse by anyone except for governments and the agents thereof. You can find out more information for this at bipcot.org. So today I'm delighted to have a guest. I first heard about him on the Tom Woods show. He was a guest there. His name is Kevin Dixie, and he's with the No Other Choice business in St. Louis, Missouri. And he's a gun educator, advocate, also, I guess, advocate for, right to protect yourself and your family and things like that. So we're going to talk about that and what he's been up to in St. Louis. So, Kevin, thanks a lot for coming on the show.
Oh, man, thanks for having me. How are you?
Good, good. Yeah, as I said, I heard you on the Tom Woods show, and I was really impressed with what you had to say and the things that you're doing, educating. I think you focus on people like in the inner city, right, in the poor neighborhoods, right?
So it's a little bit of a misconception about that. The ultimate answer is yes and no.
Okay.
So there is a particular focus because of who I am and where I come from, and I'm from that environment. So there's an immediate relationship that is easy to build. However, we're all humans, we're all people, and I'm here for everybody.
Excellent.
So it's a yes and a no.
Well, I'd like to hear that too. Awesome. No, I mean, yeah, it's true that we all need, education in that field, but it seems like, especially in the cities where gun restriction is even more heightened, and therefore gun violence is even more heightened, this kind of what you're doing is even more necessary there. Would you say so?
I would agree to that. It's kind of like thinking about fighting a war, right? You got all the divisions of Department of Defense, and you're going to go fight this war. Well, everybody has something different that they do better, right? So if we're trying to win the war of freedom, then I have my segment that I'm best at, and that's where I focus on, because that's where we the people really need me right now.
Yeah. Oh, you definitely do need you. Oh, yeah. So well, before we get into that, please get into your background, how you got into this field, and why you started your company.
I'm gonna try to give you the short, condensed version. So, I am from the inner city of St. Louis, from an area called Walnut Park, one of the city's worst areas, if not the worst. But that's not to glorify it. It just is what it is. My upbringing consists of, most people come outside, you go to your local corner, you normally see an intersection, or you see, neighbors, or maybe a cafe or something of that nature. When I walk to my corner, there's a tombstone retailer. So imagine being in the inner city, living 4 doors down from a tombstone retailer. So when your friends die, they get buried across the street at the city's largest cemetery, and you watch their parents buy their tombstones. Kind of an interesting environment to come up in. Saturated in violence, and the short version is I want to do something about it. I didn't want to be another statistic. I didn't fit any type of stereotype. I believe my control of the English language was suitable to be accepted and respected in every part of society. So I refused to give up, and I refused to become a victim of it. So I decided to, I wouldn't say escape, but reposition myself. And when I got away and I turned 21, I decided that, the best way to help is to become a police officer. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to be a cop. Now, I went into the CDPD. I was 21 years old. I was working for a cable company at the time, right? So I drove up, and I had my little amber light flashing, so they wouldn't give me a ticket for I can park like in one of the restricted spots where they can think I'm in there like installing cable or fixing something with the cable. So I go into human resources, and I tell the sergeant standing there, I'm going to be a cop, and it's going to happen today, in a very eloquent way. Sergeant laughs at me. At the time, I was a really, really, really heavy guy. I was pushing 400 pounds. Wow. Really heavy guy. So, but he liked my enthusiasm. So right away, he gave me a job, like almost on the spot, and what we call our prisoner processing division. And it's basically the jailers, if you wanted to sum it up. So I took the job. Didn't even know what it was. Didn't care. I had a job, and I was working with a police department. That's all I cared about. And it was better than installing cable, in my opinion. So I took the position. I didn't know it involved firearms training. Had no idea. So the first day we get to work, you show up for a new job, you go through orientation and all that good stuff, fill out your paperwork. I showed up, and they're like, all right, everybody in the back of the paddy wagon. I'm like, this is not what I signed up for. I signed up to put people in the back of the paddy wagon, not thrown in the back of it. But we get in the back of the paddy wagon, and we go to the police firing range. And thus began my journey with firearms. So ultimately, it was like, okay, I have access to all this firearms training, all this self-defense training, coming from the area where I come from. I know I want to make a difference. I'm already talking to people, mentoring them, helping out where I can, giving the best advice I can as a 21-year-old man, right? But I definitely have some insight. At 21, I related a lot better than somebody 41 to a guy that was 16. So always going back talking, and I just started the journey there. And about a few years into learning firearms, to the point where I felt comfortable training people, I just decided, you know what? I want to keep helping people, though. It's more than about the gun. How can we help communities? How can we help people have better lives, whether they carry a gun or not? And so eventually what No Other Choice turned into is a mash of them both. How can I teach you how to protect your life, but also, when applicable, help you build a better life? And also break the monotony of what a gun is. Since the name No Other Choice, the way that I teach firearms is from a de-escalation standpoint. A lot of times you will hear, murder, death, kill, company this, or tactical zero, blow you off the earth, murder this, tactical gun range type training. And that's cool. I mean, we're actually, at the end of the day, we're all teaching people how to defend themselves and give them a skill set. But I wanted something that was a little bit more approachable. Something where people can say, hey, you know what? I should be at the point of no other choice before I ever use any type of positive violence, I'll call it, against anybody. So I took the two, mashed them together, and here we are.
So the the phrase "no other choice" basically means if you have no other choice, you would be happy to have a gun, basically, right? Is that the definition? Would you say?
Well,
Is that what you called it?
it's kind of twofold. So there's the philosophy behind it that every day your feet hit the floor. I don't care if you're a farmer, a construction worker, an educator, a firearms trainer. I don't care what you are. Every day your feet hit the floor, you have no other choice but to make it the best day possible in the pursuit of your dreams, period. No other choice. Every day you get up, every single day. When it comes to the firearms, it transfers. Let's just say, for a loose example, let's just say the law, in black and white, the law gives you something the size of say a Volkswagen. That's where you can operate at with self-defense and be safe doing it. I want you to operate inside your own moral compass, and let's make that the size of a basketball. And that's where I want you to stay. So even if the law gives you room, I want you to operate inside your own moral compass and make sure you're at the point of no other choice before you ever enact any type of violence. That means you tried to run your way out of it, talk your way out of it, avoid it at all costs. You begged and plead. You've done everything but sacrifice the safety of yourself or the safety of someone else. But everything before that, you've done that to try to avoid the problem. If the problem persists and you're going to be hurt or somebody you love is going to be hurt, then you can respond. But you should be at that point of no other choice before you ever do, even if the law gives you room. I don't worry about the law of the land until you try to violate it. But I'm talking about making sure that you can sleep at night, making sure that you know that if you had an opportunity to spare a life without causing harm to your own, that you can do that. So that's that philosophy.
Yeah, and what really amazes me is how people are so fearful of guns because of what they see on the media, on the the mainstream news. And what's kind of amusing is that basically all they portray is the gun violence done, right? They don't often portray the amount of times that guns actually prevent loss of life and help to protect people's families and save lives. Like that's many fold more than the lives that they take. And yet people are so saturated with fear because they see this. And also I also like to point out that you're more likely to die in a car crash than you are from a gun. But nobody thinks twice getting into their car to go to work.
Nope. Because the car is something everybody feels there's that key word. They feel like they need their cars, right? And then they try to turn around and tell you what guns you should or should not have because you don't need them. I'm like, yeah, you don't need a 10-cylinder vehicle either to get back and forth. You can ride a bike or get a smart car. But yeah, you want to try to regulate what I can own. It's crazy, man. Hypocrisy at its best.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so many arguments to dismantle, and then there's the one that says, after I say that, they're like, well, but a gun is only used to kill somebody. You would only buy a gun if you want to kill somebody. Why else would you buy a gun? It's like, wait, hold on. You've never had to defend yourself. Maybe you've been living such a comfortable life that you haven't been in that situation. But a lot of people do have to do that, and like you said, trampling on that right is really, really heinous.
Yeah, it's something that needs to be completely left alone. Now, with getting background checks, that the ones we already have in place that nothing's wrong with, yeah, I'm okay with you somebody buying a gun and you going in the store, filling out a 4473 like we already do, and getting your guns. I'm cool with that. All right. But anything beyond that we already do, generally, if you're buying, a handgun or a rifle or a shotgun or even an AR lower, if you're not even putting the whole gun together, you already have to go do a 4473 on that. We don't need anything else, right? And the only reason I'm okay with that is because I don't want some guy walking up to you saying, I'm going to murder you, and he's psychotic and he's been in the hospital for 50 years and he's coming out like I'm still going to kill you, and we don't know, that we want to be able to control him being able to go get something, right? But other than that, there is no reason for you to interfere. And it's all this opinionated. And I tell people this, and I think that's something that goes remiss. Listen to a lot of people that talk about taking gun rights. Listen to them and listen to what they say. And some of the best language is always used in the gun buyback programs that local police departments will put on, politicians make their police departments put on, rather. They'll put on these gun buyback programs. And I've heard it several times. They always say the same thing. They'll say something along the lines of this. We already know the criminals aren't going to turn the guns in
but we need you to give us your guns that you can turn in for that gun doesn't wind up in the hands of someone that causes harm, and then they sell you the paranoia, right? And so here's my question, and this is what all I perceive out of that. Okay, so you already said the criminals aren't going to turn in guns. Well, I like to tell everybody, I have a saying: understand things in their complexity, but be able to execute and explain them with simplicity. That being said, by you saying and stating the words that we don't want that gun to wind up in the hands, and we know criminals aren't going to turn their guns in. Listen to most of the gun buyback programs will tell you, no questions asked, right? You come turn in the guns, no questions asked, give you a gift card or something like that. Well, you can't say we know the criminals are going to turn the guns in, because what you're essentially saying then, if you understand it from a simple point of view, that means I can go commit a crime and then have you destroy the gun, right? Then how are you ever going to solve the crime? And as a police department, as a government agency, I can't convince people of that, right? But essentially, that's exactly what you're still doing. You could easily be erasing physical evidence of a crime, right? But deeper than that, what you're telling people is, I don't trust you. I don't trust you. And a lot of the fear of them not trusting people, it starts with themselves. You don't trust yourself, right? And you're trying to cast that energy onto me. So we can go all day long about why or need. It's really not that complex. You don't trust yourself. And you say it in your language when you speak. You don't trust yourself with this kind of quote unquote power, these quote unquote deadly instruments. When you say, I don't believe you should have, no, you don't believe you should have. You don't trust your own self. When people argue against guns, I mean, look how angry they get, right?
Right.
They don't trust themselves to control their tempers. They're always yelling on TV and having fists. And we're all human. We all get emotional one day or another. I'm not saying we don't. But it's a constant barrage of these angry words and protests and yellings. And I can tell you, man, for being on the pro-gun side, we get more death threats from people that are anti-gun than from anybody else.
That's ironic.
Isn't it? I hope you die. I hope you get murdered. I hope all things happen.
Wow.
And these people say those things. So what you're really telling us is you don't trust yourself. Whatever demons you have in you, you believe they exist in everybody, and you're not the exception to the rule. And what I would like for them to realize is criminals and you guys, the people that want to take rights away, you are the exception to the rule. Everyday average Americans don't have a problem with carrying a firearm every day and not harming them. I mean, I can hit you upside the head with a hammer, right? I don't do it. I'm sorry, I lost my mic there for a second. I don't do it because I know it's not the right human thing to do to you, right? Why would I do that? Why would I cause that kind of harm to your life? Yeah. And they ignore the fact that blunt objects are used 4 times more likely than any firearm. So, yeah, it's trust issues within themselves, man. In short, it really is.
Yeah, I think I forget what exactly the title of your video was. It's like we need to ban this horrible thing, and it's killed this many people, and it's very dangerous. And you hold up some kitchen knives.
Nice.
I like it.
What's going on, guys? It's Katie with No Other Choice. Just coming today with a quick message about the tools being used to hurt our families and especially our children around the country. Now look, whether you feel like this tool is protected by the Constitution or not, let's be honest. At the end of the day, people are dying, people are being hurt, and we need to do something about it. Politics aside, all the rhetoric aside, what are we going to do? Because there are some people, like these individuals, that have suffered, these kids. Isabella Martinez, Diana, Dakota, Dylan, and Axel Romero. I wonder how their family feels about what these tools have done. Sophia and Noah Murphy. I wonder if we felt any pity for them. Genesis and Serenity Freeman. Not enough for you? Okay. Nadria Janae, Ariana Decree, Ajaya Royale. Well, if that's still not enough, I'll give you a bonus. How about Lucretia and Leo Krim? All these beautiful children under the age of 15 years old were murdered in this country within the last couple of years by this dangerous tool. But, hold on. Sorry, guys. Players mess up. They were hurt by these dangerous tools that you argue are protected by the Constitution. I'm not really sure if they are or not. I don't know, but I do know that these instruments, these sharp cutting instruments, these tools are used 4 times more than any rifle of any sort in this country on a yearly basis to cause harm. And that includes to our children. So if we're going to have an open, honest conversation about that, we need to talk about knives too. I want you to go over to London for a second. Type in on your little computer. And I want you to see what these are being used for over there. They're nothing more than instruments. And next time, before you get into the debate about, what's causing harm and what's hurting us, I want you to think about a couple of things. One, this tool is actually protected by the Constitution. It's something we can talk about, but it is protected. These were around at the same time the Constitution was written, and for some reason, they weren't put into it. And yet they cause more harm. Let's be honest about that. Let's also remember that you need a background check to possess one of these in this country. All you need is a few dollars to go buy one of these things, and you're good to go. And trust me, in case you find one of those $130 ARs, even with that amount, how many of these can you get? These put food on the table. These prepare the food. So before you start arguing about 30-round clipazines that go into these, I want you to consider these. And at the same time, I want you to think about this. Now, I'm not going to give this woman any credit because she doesn't deserve it. I'm not going to give her any notoriety. But what I will say is there's a mother in this very country that took these and stabbed her own 7-year-old son 173 times, then turned around and killed the 5-year-old she was babysitting, and she wasn't done there. She then murdered the dogs in the house. All with these. So 173 times, right? That would be the equivalent of roughly 6 of these or 2 of these. I guess you can go full semi-auto with these as well, huh? This is Katie with No Other Choice, and I want you to be prepared for when there is no other choice, including having a conversation about the tools that are truly causing havoc in our country.
Yeah, that video was oh man, what was the title of that video?
We need to ban these things or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was like a ban. Let's talk about what's. Now you're gonna make me look it up. But yeah, that was a good one, and that's the one where I actually was standing there and I had the AR slung over my chest, and everybody was like, yeah, ban them, and it's like, no, dude, these 2 kitchen knives are what I'm. Yeah, and it's the truth. So it's a way to give people information by diversion. You're so focused, and when I divert your attention to the real tools that are causing harm, they're like, oh, it makes you swallow it. It's like, oh, crap. And then you go look it up. You can go look it up all day long. I mean, I'm not making up stats, and I don't believe in pulling stats from independent researchers. The stats I love are from the federal government. I just love those stats. When FBI puts out stats, here, no bias. They're just putting out the numbers. I love it.
Yeah, I think the key word that you use is tool. This is a tool, right? Just like any inanimate object that human beings manufacture, that we use to improve our lives, make our lives more comfortable. It's a tool, just like I tell people, just like a computer, just like a car, just like a chainsaw, just like a knife. It's a tool, right? And it's not good or bad. It's an inanimate object. When you ascribe good or bad, that's ascribing moral agency, right? And that can only be ascribed to free thinking human beings, right? People who can make choices. Then you have moral decisions to make, right? So I wrote an article for my website, and I called it "Evil Resides in the Heart, Not in the Tool." Right? It's always in the person with the intention of what they want to do with that tool. That's what we have to address, right? And I think you also said in one of your videos, getting at the root of the problem is necessary. Why do people want to hurt other people? Is it traumatic childhood? Is it medication side effects? Mental illness? So many different things, right? So I thought that was a great point.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, and that's what the, and I know we'll get to it, but that's what the whole point of aiming for the truth is. But when people when they're having a conversation about these quote unquote tools, I like to bring up stats when I can. I'm not a really heavy stat guy because I believe most of the arguments rely on stats. And so the reason why people debate me so much is because I don't use them. So they feel like they can. Still, then they start talking, and then once I get them to talking, and I don't use the truth, honestly, to shut them up. I like for them to give me information before I can educate them all the way down the line. But we had 87. I just came back from NRA annual meetings. Right? I'm even, like I told you before we started talking, I'm going to pump my energy up, dude, because I'm just drained from the annual meetings, right?
Yeah.
So I'm everywhere. We're shaking hands. We're people are intermingling, taking pictures, and there are guns everywhere. There were over 87,000 people at the NRA. It broke the record. It was the largest convention, the annual meeting convention ever. Over 87,000 people. And how many people got shot?
Right.
And it was in Dallas. So you can imagine it was in Texas, man. So how many people were carrying guns? I'll be nice. Out of 87,000, I'm going to say 60 of them had guns. Just to be polite about the number. Right. So, how many people got shot? And I mean, you're talking about 87,000 people in one space. Can you imagine all the people bumping into each other and you're kind of in each other's space, you're nudging, you're frustrated, you know what I mean? Like, but yet nobody got shot, even with all those aggravations, those natural aggravations going on. So if guns were an issue, then 87,000 people in a space being inconvenienced about the other people standing around them, all trying to get to the same areas, it'd be an issue. But it wasn't an issue because it's not the gun.
Right.
It's the operator of the firearm, right? And there were 87,000 plus people that own firearms that were like, hey, I know what these things can do. I'm around a bunch of other people that have the same capabilities I have, and we're going to be respectful. Armed society, peaceful society. Perfect example. 87,000 people is like that's more than a lot of suburbs and municipalities have. No problem. Go figure.
Yeah, and how many mass murder shootings have been in gun shows or like gun shops or things like that, where you would think, wow, this is the most amount of guns here. Must be such a violent place. Oh, actually, you know what? I wanted to ask you. I wanted to discuss the Aiming for the Truth. It's a conference, right, that you're going to be putting on?
It's an event we put on.
Cool.
Yeah. So I guess you can call it a conference. I guess you can call it really more of a seminar if you're going to title it like that. Okay. But it's basically it's a community event.
Awesome. All right. So before we get into that, I have one question I wanted to ask before I forget. I had a friend that was saying, well, you could just walk into Walmart and get a gun. Okay. Now I don't know that. I know the laws are different in each state, right? For gun ownership. But I know in New Jersey, that is not the case. New Jersey is I believe it's one of the strictest states, I think, to own a gun. And I haven't really researched it, but I can pretty much bet money that no, you cannot just go into Walmart and walk out with a gun.
Well, he's not totally incorrect. Because in Missouri, Walmart, they don't sell handguns, but they do sell long guns.
Okay. Unless
they've taken them out recently. I haven't been in a Walmart in the gun section in a while. But Walmart qualifies as a FFL. So they have a gun dealer in Walmart. Walmart is also a gun dealer. So no different than going to an ABC gun store. Okay. You can go on Walmart. You can do a background check. They can do background checks right on the spot. And you could buy your gun and your ammunition right there and walk out.
But does it depend on which state the Walmart is? They
have to abide by their local state laws.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Right. So whatever state it's in, they have to comply with those laws.
Yeah, like in New Jersey, I got to go to my local police department, and then they do like a background check, and I think it takes like 6 to 8 weeks. So I don't think that's the case in New Jersey, and that's just for a long gun. That's not even for a handgun. I think for a handgun, so you need that in addition to I think it's like 4 or 5 people that you've known for at least 20 years that's not your family that can vouch for you as being a good human being.
That is crazy, man. That is ridiculous.
So how about your state? How's the gun regulations there?
Missouri is we've came a long way over the last decade. Missouri is one of the best states for freedom and gun ownership that there is. It's just one of the best. We have a concealed carry law, so you can get your concealed carry permit here. We've enacted something that's in my mind questionable, and that's our version of constitutional carry. But when you start reading the law, I don't really think it protects people like they think it does. So I don't know. That one probably has a lot of room for improvement, but we do have it. But yeah, once you have your you take a valid state ID. Well, it has to be valid. You go into your authorized gun dealer. If you pass your 4473, your standard federal background check, buy a gun. And you can. There is no waiting period. I concealed carry permits. You have to take an 8-hour course. That background for that permit does take 4 to 6 weeks on average, depending on where you go. It takes between 4 to 6 weeks. They do come back sooner. I've had students get theirs back as short in 3 or 4 days. But they'll do an in-depth background check on your fingerprints and really get into you. But yeah, you can, as long as you got an ID, man, you can, and pass a background check, you can own a firearm. It's pretty nice.
Yeah. And let me get your opinion on this, because this is kind of how the way I look at it. Because some of my friends who, are very wary of guns, they're like so many people, like, we need more longer background checks, and we need, stricter regulations, and we need to, make it more difficult for people to own. And the way I look at it is, well, that's not actually going to prevent anything, because the people who actually are stupid enough to commit crimes and kill people with guns, most of the time they're not legal gun owners, or the gun that they own is not even there. Like, it's maybe stolen or gotten from the black market or whatever. So it's like those kind of laws completely bypass the criminals anyway. What's your take on that?
Your point is right. So I'll only give you a thumbs up to the point you made.
So basically, all it's making is it more difficult for the good people to protect themselves. Yeah,
and if you were talking about a good person, here's the thing, man. To that philosophy of you should wait longer for your background check to own your gun, rah rah rah. Okay, look, man. if I decided that I was going to commit a crime, me, myself, and I, right, which I would never do, but let's just in an alternative world, if I said that I was going to commit a crime, I am no different than a very, I wouldn't say small, but I would say not uncommon group of individuals that literally probably can't tell you how many guns they own. So if I'm going to buy another handgun to add to the whatever amount I have, if I wanted to commit a crime, I don't need a new gun to do it.
Right.
I'll use one of the ones I already have. Matter of fact, I'm not going to use my new gun because who wants to mess that one up, right? So you just use one of the ones you already have. So it doesn't, what background check? That doesn't stop anything, right? So, and if a good person snaps and they lose their mind, for whatever reason, a guy's been owning guns for 30 years and one day he starts to commit a crime. Okay, he waited 30 years. What did your 2-week, 6-week background check do for that? Right. He waited 30 years. And if I know that I have an intent to kill, fine, man. These killers, you take these school shooters, for example, these kids have thought these things out. The Aurora shooter thought this thing out. Like, he booby-trapped his apartment, for Christ's sakes, right? They think these things out. The terrorists in Orlando, in which, by the way, all of them are terrorists. Let's just get that out the way. Right. But the terrorists in Orlando, they thought that out. That was methodical. The guy in Vegas, methodical. So I say that to say, if you're going to implement a background check, let's say 2 months across the country, we fight it tooth and nail, we lose. 2 months to own a gun, fine. In my plans, I'll wait 2 months. Big deal. You're not going to stop. I'll just plan it around it.
If you want to do it legally.
Yeah, I mean, if I want to say, cool, I'm going to shoot up this place, and I'm going to plan this out. They're fine. I know I need to wait 2 months for a gun, so I just write that into my plans. Right? And I'll let you do your background check. I'll wait the 2 months, and then I'll go execute my plan. Right? So it's not, you look at, like, if you look at the kid in Florida, as he's an idiot, but if you look at him, he didn't want to die. Think about what he did. All right? He'd been to that school long enough to understand that Scott Peterson wasn't going to do a damn thing. He knew that. And people overlooked that fact. What did Cruz know about him that said, you're not going to do anything to stop me? I mean, if you spend 2, 3, 4 years walking around the same person, you kind of start picking up vibes off of them. You get to know their mannerisms a little bit. So what intel did he have to already know that guy is not going to do anything? Because if the kid wanted to die, if Cruz wanted to lose his life, it was an easy way of doing it, right? Fight it out with the cops when they get there. Yet, he dumped everything and tried to blend in with the students to get away.
Yeah.
Hence, he thought about what he was going to do. So if you had him on a 2-month background check, he would have just planned it for a different time. That's it. And may he burn in hell. But he would have just planned it for a different time. So what are your background checks really doing? No, you just simply want to control people to make you feel more comfortable. The feelings are, look, the law and myself, I don't care about your feelings. When it comes to my rights, I don't care about your feelings, because if I came and tried to tell you, hey, I'm passing this new zone law in your neighborhood because I feel nobody needs more than a quarter acre of land. That's what I feel. Because all this land, it's greed. This is gluttony. You don't need this. I'm taking it because we can build more houses for more people if we shrink your land. That's how I feel, and that's what we're going to do. Landowners, after they go through racking their shotguns at me, will be like, I don't care about your feelings about my home. You're not just going to take my stuff because you feel a way, right? So why are we allowing or entertaining because you feel a certain way? Let's take the guns. And when you look at the firearms being used, people like to say, oh, well, they're using these mass killing machines. Well, ignorance is truly bliss. But the fact when you start talking about something that people love and they care about and they're attached to, we quickly start to educate you. So you aren't ignorant on the fact anymore. Simple things like saying, why would you want somebody to have an assault rifle? And I'll stand back sometimes and be really, really kind of ignorant in a mean way myself. I'm like, I don't know many people. I know some, but I don't know many people that have an assault rifle. I'm like, well, yeah, you do. I was like, I don't have one. Even though you see my Facebook photo, you see most of my videos. I don't have an assault rifle. Like, it's an AR. I said, oh, no, I have an AR. That stands for armor.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah, it stands for armor. It doesn't stand for assault rifle.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nice little mainstream media term.
Right.
Play on the shorten it up to make it sound like it's so dangerous. But no, I don't own an assault rifle.
Right.
Now, my semi-automatic rifles I own, my semi-automatic handguns, those are both semi-automatic. Haven't done anything to anybody. And because you're using scary terms for emotional fillers, doesn't mean I'm going to give up my freedoms because you feel scared. And even if I did, even if assault rifles really existed in the hands of common people, just because it's called something that you deem is scary, I'm still not going to give it to you because you don't have a reason to validate why you need it. Why do you need, in Jersey, strict gun laws, yes?
Yeah.
Convince me that Newark is a safe place.
Newark. Right. Yeah.
Right? So,
yeah.
And Newark is going to be what Newark is, even though you have strict gun laws. Now, would you, if a person had to live in Newark, because say, not you personally, I wouldn't put this on anybody, but let's just say someone lost their home, right? They lost their home and you got to put your family up somewhere. So you go get the first thing for the cheapest rent you can afford while you get back up on your feet. Let's say I put you in Newark, right? You're paying, $600-700 a month, whatever's affordable. And now you have to live in one of the areas that's saturated with crime. And then I tell you on top of that, oh, you're not allowed to have a gun either. So good luck. I mean, think about that, right?
Yeah.
So every day you come outside, you're living in one of the worst areas, but yet every day you come outside and you try to go about your daily life, there is somebody sitting in some cushy office somewhere with armed guards, and people like say, well, the politicians don't have armed guards. You're a lie. The mayor has the police department, right? So they have literally the entire police department. Local politicians, when they go and work in their cushy offices, well, a lot of them have security, especially if they're working in City Hall, right? So they have that protection. What do you have? You have nothing. But we want to put you out in the streets, claim we're cleaning up your neighborhoods, but then tell you that you're not allowed to protect yourself. Then when you become a victim of a crime, we demonize criminals. But we don't talk about the fact, well, if so-and-so would have had a firearm, they could have potentially have saved their life. No, we just want to make the gun seem evil before we can spare our feelings. So now, and I tell your friends I said it. We don't care. I don't care about their feelings. Now, if you want to start debating facts and coming up with real numbers, we can talk about those. The problem is the numbers never work, right? And you look at Britain, and I talk to people from the UK all the time. All the time. I just, on my Instagram today, I put up a picture of me and a guy that came to NRA from the UK. He comes every year, right? And you talk to him about guns, and he's like, yeah, look at the stabbings. I mean, for Christ's sake, man, the UK, everybody's like, all anti-gunners like, we need to model it after the UK. Fine. Let's model after the UK, like we didn't fight to be away from them because they're the righteous people, right? We America's never fought against the British to be away from the way that they run things. Cool, right? It's never happened, right? So we want to go run back to adapting their way of life. Okay, fine. Get rid of the guns. Britain did it. What happened? Knives appeared, right? Knife crime skyrocketed. The mayor is now calling for knife control.
Seriously?
Dude, you haven't seen that?
I did hear that recently. When did that start?
I would say, man, he probably was boisterous about it. Give or take 30 days, 45 days ago.
Oh, I see.
But I mean, man, it's on the front page of all the papers. Like, it's not something he's whispering. He's yelling. Like, we need knife control. Dude, they literally have bins on the corner. You know how you walk past the bins where you can, like, donate clothes?
Yeah.
Like in city, they have bins to collect knives.
Oh, my God.
Right? Because the knife crimes, and not to mention, they still have gun crimes, even though guns are illegal. Vice News went over there and was doing an interview with guys that were standing out with firearms. And these guys not only had guns, they had silencers at the end of them, right? Over here, you got to go through all kind of crap to get a silencer. That takes roughly a year. But they're standing out with guns, knives, knife control. And he says there is no reason for anybody to leave their home with a knife. If we catch you with a knife, we are putting you in jail. Really? Started with guns. Now it's at knives. And now the next thing they have coming up is their acid attacks. Now, when you look at the shooting they had in over there, the one at the newspaper, they used legit, fully automatic AK-47s.
Wow.
How in a country where they aren't allowed?
Right. Exactly.
How did that happen? And when they went down the street mowing people down, people were hiding up in buildings with their cell phones recording the incident, which is cool. I get it. Mm-hmm. But imagine if the cell phone was
Exactly. Yeah.
You know? So, exactly. Yeah. I'm sorry. I get on a tangent. But, yeah, that's what you tell your friends. Play this part of the interview, Paul.
No, I mean, yeah, you're completely right. You know, people, they have their feelings, and it's almost as if that's sufficient for them, or sufficient reason for them to advocate the removal of your rights to protect yourself. You know, it's like I don't even know you, but you shouldn't have a gun. Yeah. You know? Right. How can you make that judgment call, you know? Like, I don't.
What amendment hurts people's feelings more than anything else? The First Amendment, right?
Right.
So if we start playing this whole emotional restrict your rights because of my feelings game, and you get the second, the first is next. Don't believe me? Let's go back over to the UK, where the incident, unfortunately, with the child in the hospital and things like that, where the UK started to threaten to arrest people that have opinions. And they've already arrested people for voicing their opinions on various issues. Literally, you can be arrested over a tweet.
Wow. Yeah.
That's literally is happening in the UK. So once again, they started with guns. Now it's down to knives. And now we're controlling and threatening you with jail based off of your voice. And how are you going to resist that? You can't even have a knife. Right? So get in the back of the car. Come down with me because you're going to prison. Just saying. You want to be like the UK? There's something for you. First Amendment hurts people's feelings more than anything. You can sit here right now and say anything you want to me. You're in New Jersey. I'm in St. Louis. There's nothing I can do about it, right? Nothing I can do. You can hurt my feelings. I can start crying like a baby. There's nothing I can do about it but be hurt. My feelings can be hurt.
Right.
But I shouldn't be able to tell you can't legally say whatever you said to me.
Sure.
I shouldn't be able to have you sent to prison because you say, oh, you're the ugliest guy I've ever seen. You know what? That hurt my feelings, lock them up, right? Like that shouldn't be a thing. But that's exactly what's happening in the UK. That has happened in Australia. And these are the places you want us to model ourselves after. It's happening in Canada.
Yeah.
Right? Can't say things. A tweet will get you in prison. But you guys want to do things based off emotions. So you get rid of the Second Amendment because of your feelings and your filler scary words. Well, next comes the First Amendment. Imagine when you can't get on your Twitter or your Instagram or your Facebook or your YouTube, and you can't really even do it on YouTube now because they restrict a lot of stuff gun people say. But imagine getting on there and talking about how you feel about a presidential election or your local tax codes or your local funding for a new football stadium coming to town, and you get on there and you voice your opinion that's against the government and they arrest you.
Yeah,
that's legitimately happening in this world now.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't want to hear anything about your feelings taking away our rights because I'm actually trying to protect you, and that's what a lot of people that want guns to be taken away don't get. Like literally, I'm trying to make sure that your life is physically protected, even against me. Like, why would I want you having a gun if I didn't trust and believe that you can go about your life? I don't want you shooting at me. Right. So, yeah, we want people on because we understand it brings peace. And I'm telling you that I trust you enough to have that kind of power. And as a human being, I believe the majority of us can wield that power without abusing it. And another thing, I'm trying to protect all of your amendments, your entire Bill of Rights and your entire Constitution. The Second Amendment is just the only one that has this tangible object in front of it that's polarizing. So it's the one that gets attacked the most because there's a physical object that represents it. Right. The First Amendment is just me and you talking. It could be computers, phones. It's spread out. Guns, Second Amendment, tie right in, and it's polarizing because it's an object we can look at. Right. But we don't get on here talking about we want to restrict people's First Amendment rights, even when here's the catch. One of the biggest things people are talking about nowadays is, hey, stop being mean. Anti-bullying campaigns, right? Yeah. Because children and some adults are killing themselves because they're being bullied. Well, they're using the First Amendment as a weapon. But you don't hear a lot of people saying, let's take the First Amendment away. And there are actually campaigns, a lot of which are ran by people that are anti-gun. And I'm saying that we need to stop the bullying because kids are hurting themselves. I agree. We don't want kids hurting themselves. We should never want that. However, people are using words to get them to hurt themselves. Well, how come you're not talking about restricting their usage of the words? Because you don't want to attack your First Amendment, but you want to attack my Second because you say it's hurting people. Kind of sound like a hypocrite.
Yeah, well said. So let me give you, for me, when I talk about rights, right? So I consider myself a voluntarist and anarchist, and I mean anarcho-capitalist, really, and the same way with Tom Woods. And so that philosophy, for me, it's more a philosophy of morality, like three concepts: self-ownership, property rights, and non-aggression, right? And they're very much related, right? So self-ownership, basically you own your body, and any work that you do, the fruits of your labor is 100% yours. And anybody who tries to take from you what you have legitimately earned would be aggressing upon you, would be theft. Right, so that's number one. Number two, property rights, which is basically similar. You purchase things with the fruits of your labor, and it becomes your property, and it's an extension of you. So anybody that tries to steal your property is again committing theft, and you could defend yourself for that. And then non-aggression is basically, you have the right to not be aggressed upon, and if you are, you have the right to defend yourself. Defensive force, right? So we're always against initiation of aggression, but not defensive force, right? You can, it is legitimate to defend yourself. Every animal defends itself: claws, venom, teeth, fangs, whatever. Every animal in the natural kingdom defends itself, whereas people now are like, yeah, well, you don't have to own a gun. So anyway, so yeah. So when I talk about these kinds of things, not only gun rights, but other things too, I don't use the argument of the Second Amendment. Also, I don't use statistics, and the reason for that is because first of all, the statistics, if I say a statistic, people are going to be like, well, I saw an article and it said the exact opposite, and so you're just going to go back and forth, and it's like, how are you going to get anywhere with that? So that's one reason I don't use statistics. And then the reason why what was the other thing? I forgot what I was going to say. Shoot. but yeah, so yeah, statistics for me is one thing that I kind of shy away. Oh yeah, so I focus on the moral agency. That's what I focus on. Like, the Second Amendment, right? So I don't mention the Second Amendment because for me, it's like that's a piece of paper that was written up by people, right? And so if I were to mention the Second Amendment in terms of gun rights, it would seem to me like I'm saying that our rights originated from the Second Amendment. Whereas what I'm telling people is, no, you have innate right to protect yourself. It does not originate from a piece of paper that was written down by somebody that you never met. It's actually it's a good convenient thing to use maybe in court. But when I talk to people, that's one of the reasons why I don't mention those things. Because I want to instill in people this idea that we are all inborn and innate with these fundamental human rights. So I just wanted to get your opinion on that.
I agree with. I don't disagree with anything you said. What I will add to it is this though. So where you said the Second Amendment, and you don't talk about it because it was written by somebody you don't know. It's innate.
Yeah.
See, actually, you're right. Well, we don't know them. Like that's physically impossible.
Right.
And you're exactly correct. It is innate. The reason, however, that we have to bring up the Second Amendment is because it was written as part of the law of the land. And that's where they're attacking us, is in the law.
Right.
So they want to circumvent the law
right.
to take away those inalienable rights,
right.
to take away those innate rights. And the only thing we have in the legal spectrum keeping that from happening is that Second Amendment, right? Yeah. So that's why it's brought up so much. So I'm not coming where I come from, when I'm talking to people about gun rights, man, look, I don't talk about politics, and I don't lead off talking about the Second Amendment, because what that says to most people is you're using talking points, right? Politics is dirty and it's nasty. So you're arguing and you're debating, and people live and die sometimes by their political views, even if they don't understand them. They just live and die by them. Because I made this decision, I got to defend myself, dude. Sorry. And then when you start throwing Second Amendment up at a lot of people, well, they don't understand that. They do want to have a conversation more the way you're having it, just, hey, man, about who I am, the fact that I have a right to do this. So I see both sides of it, and I think they're equally important, because if you lose that debate, let's say with a congressman, right? Let's say you're having that debate with a congressman, and let's make up a fantasy land, and this congressman and you are having a conversation that is his decision off of your conversation is going to determine gun rights in this country, right? You are our last line of defense, and you get to call 4 characters before you get to argue with them. I'm going to say, hey, bring up the Second Amendment and let him know it's part of the legal system, because he's a congressman and he should know he shouldn't violate the law. Right. So that would be my defense mechanism, to say, once we start playing in the legal spectrum where you're trying to take away our rights, to deny us our human rights, that's why we bring it up. And the people that the founding fathers that wrote it knew that. That's why they wrote it, because what did we use to escape from Britain? So it's like, these things are important, because if you want to escape tyranny or prevent it from happening, you have to have these things. And you know what? We need to write this down. That way it can never be taken from people. And yet, that's why I think the Second Amendment is important. But I do not disagree with anything you said.
And I think also, just, the years leading up to the Revolutionary War, I think the British were trying to disarm the colonists. Do you know if that's true or not? I believe that's true. Yeah,
they were. They were limiting guns and a lot of people. And then it was easy as just taking them. What are you going to do? British Army, what are you going to do? Yeah. It was just taking them, because as the resistance of America became stronger, it didn't just happen overnight. Like this stuff built up, right? Tensions are building up. Right. People are becoming more, they're using their voices more against you. Certain people are saying, you know what, I'm tired of you. Like, this resistance built up. Well, they knew it was building up. So let's, hold on, before you get too angry, let's just take these, And before they could disarm the entire country, there was a repercussion, and we made up the biggest cup of tea ever, and we had a fight. So it's just things. That's what happened.
Yeah, definitely. So before we go, please get into your aiming for the truth, and what exactly is going to happen with that, and if people want to learn more about it, how can they find out?
All right, so Aiming for the Truth is exactly that. Aiming for the Truth is a program that's designed around aiming for the truth for the reasons that cause violence. So that's what we're doing. We're aiming to kill violence at its roots. So we are going to help deal with certain key elements of life that I believe cause people to be violent. We have subject matter experts come in and speak about everything I'm about to say. And these experts are also available for people to meet one-on-one and go to their offices and seek more assistance. Okay. And so what we do is I MC the entire thing, because every subject I talk about, I lived it. So I understand how it affects you. I'm not just saying it. I personally went through it. That's why understanding my background, coming from the inner city, seeing death, murder, prostitution, drug dealing every single day. I mean, literally was robbed by my classmates. Like, imagine being held at gunpoint by a dude you have to sit in social studies with the next day. Okay? So I understand these environments. I also survived depression. So the first thing we start talking about is mental illness, right? And so we address people's mental illness. I do that, and I let you get introduced to people that can help you with that, because I want to cleanse your mind. I want you to, that you need to work with a clean slate, gun owner or not. It's not about that. You need mental help. We want to get you mental help, right? So we talk about that. Then we'll start talking about employment and employment skills. You know, a lot of people, man, have never really had to write a resume, you know, and they're too shameful to say it. Well, let's drop all that. Let's help you. You know, a lot of guys don't know how to tie a tie. You know, I didn't learn how to tie a tie till I was 30 years old, right? Because no man ever taught me. I didn't have that. You know, I bought the clip-ons. Whenever I had to do something professional for the PD, I went to the store and I bought a clip-on tie. I never knew how to do a Windsor knot. YouTube literally taught me how to tie a tie because there are a lot of men they're not there, right? Yeah. So, but let's get you those skills and let's get you out there and let's get you employed. So we'll have employers show up. You know, It might not be a pretty job. It might be a local plumber. It might be a local carpenter. You never know. It might be a gun company. But they're there offering employment. You know, if you can, of course, you have to be qualified, of course, but they're there to help. So after we talk about that, we're going to get into rebuilding the family and money management. So first we start with money management. So you got a job. Let's teach you how to manage that money or give you the resources to make that dollar stretch. After we make that dollar stretch, now let's talk about getting you back involved with your family, whether it's your extended family or your children. Maybe you're not the best mom or dad to your kids, right? Or maybe you share your co-parent, but you're not the best co-parents, or whatever the case may be, because you didn't see fatherhood. You don't know what that looks like. You know, let's introduce you to that. And let's teach you cost-effective ways to get back involved in your child's life. And let's teach you conflict resolution with that. So you don't go into it angry. You understand that it's not about you, it's about the child, right? And let's get these families rebuilt. That's what it's about, rebuilding the family, right? Cornerstone of society, we got to rebuild them. After we get the family together, now let's focus on your kid so we can have you busy with your child. So let's get your children resources. It could be an alternative school district if they're not learning properly where they're at now. Or it could be something as simple as a tutoring service. Or maybe the Scouts, something to get your child out of that everyday environment of what they see, right? And then we're going to challenge you to be involved. So if they have a meeting at school, hey, Dad, we want you to go to that meeting. We want you to be involved. And or Mom, we want you to go to the meeting. And that helps people build equity into their lives, right? And so after we've helped you build equity into your life and we've shown you that we are people that care about you by doing things, not only host an event, at the event, we feed you. Round trip public transportation is reimbursed. You catch the bus, we'll give you that money back, okay? And we provide free childcare services on site. So you don't have to worry about, hey, I don't have a sitter, I don't have this. The last one we had a miniature carnival for kids in the parking lot. We entertained the kids while the adults came inside. Wow. Every family that attends, we have free firearm safety training for the entire family, right? And that's just free. It's at a later date, but that's just free. So whether you own guns or not, your kids know how to be safe around them. You, Mom and Dad, you understand what you should be doing to keep the family safe if they ever do encounter a gun, whether there's one in your house or not. So those are the things we do. Now, after we have you having all that equity built into your life, then there's a question we ask, or I ask. And the question is, do you believe, close your eyes, do you believe that whatever resources you choose to use today, there's somebody that will snuff that life out, that will take those resources from you? Unanimously, everybody agrees. How can you not? Yeah, sure there are. Okay, now let's talk about how you preserve that. Mm-hmm. Now let's talk about the defense of that. Now let's talk about the Second Amendment. Once people have equity or a life they can see that they have equity into, you don't have to sell them on defending it. Mm. They want to defend it. My job then is to show you how to do it the right way and give you the history of it. So that's what Aiming for the Truth is.
Wow. That's beautiful. Yeah. I wish you were in my neighborhood. Oh, man.
Oh, we travel. That's what I was going to get to next.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah. Aiming for the Truth is not just, and it's okay. It's on me to make sure people understand this. Aiming for the Truth born in St. Louis, Missouri. Aiming for the Truth is for everybody. So we'll be July 21st, and this will all be on my social media, which I know we're going to talk about and make sure it's tagged. Yeah. But Aiming for the Truth, coming up, we'll be doing the marketing really heavy for it. July 21st is going to be in Columbia, South Carolina. So another thing that we do with Aiming for the Truth is make sure communities have a chance to interact, right? Like I invite the gun community out to this event, not to show off guns. We don't show off guns at this event, by the way. This is all about holistic healing of the person. But it's about blending communities. That way we can break down other barriers too, whether it be racial barriers or lifestyle barriers or whatever the case may be. So I'm excited to say that the Aiming for the Truth event in Columbia, South Carolina, you want to talk about optics, you want to talk about diversity and appearance, it's going to be held at a Harley Davidson dealership. How is that for optics, right?
Nice.
So bikers and the community and education. That's going to be something else, man. And then September 1st, we're going to be in Memphis, Tennessee. We'll be going down to Memphis, Tennessee. So anybody can have it anywhere. It's just a matter of reaching out to us, of saying you want it. And we ask for 3 to 6 months in advance. We make sure we lock everything down, and we show up and we do it, man. It's not really that hard. So it can be in your area, and maybe you can bring it to your area.
Okay, putting an idea in my mind. Let me ask you a question. Are you familiar with the guy Dale Brown from the Detroit Threat Management Center, the Viper Threat Management Center?
I can't say that I am.
Okay, all right. I definitely will link you to him. I interviewed the guy. He's very similar to your approach. You remind me a lot of him, and he basically he does very similar to what you do. But he's more into private security, and so he's got his company that he goes into Detroit, right? And like basically a lot of people have fled. The tax, the people paying the taxes basically have fled, but there are still some people there, still some businesses there, but rampant, crime and home invasions and murder and things like that. And so the businesses that are still there and the people that are still there, they want protection. And so he has found a wonderful niche for him to go there and satisfy that demand. And so he's built up this really thriving business on not only helping people protect themselves, their family, their homes, and their businesses, but also educating the public. And so he's really big into self-defense and defense with a weapon also, and he's really into exactly what you said, de-escalation of a potentially violent situation. And so he primarily, first and foremost, uses psychology to diffuse a tense situation, which is awesome. And he basically, we say, there's many levels of failure that people would engage in, before, let's say, you kill someone. It's like, first thing is, if you have to put your hand on them, that's one level of failure. If you have to take them down, another level of failure, all the way down to like really, really hurting them. But, so he's like, primarily what we focus on is diffusing the situation without even touching the person, just by words, just by talking. And so it's really admirable what he's doing. So, I interviewed him. Also, Tom Woods interviewed him actually as well. Really, really cool guy. So I'll link you to him. I think you and him. I don't know if you can coordinate, but yeah, he's an awesome guy. So
okay, that's cool.
Yeah, so he's really doing some good work, and you definitely remind me a lot of him as well. So very cool. So thank you very much for this conversation. Before we go, if you could give, I always ask this of my guests, if you can give one quote that's your all-time favorite quote to leave my.
Does it have to be? Does it have to be like a famous quote, or can it be my own?
Whatever. Oh, it can be your own. That's fine.
Okay.
Whatever you want.
Right. So my favorite quote right now is one of my own, and is that I am gun control's worst nightmare because I am the inconvenient black truth.
Ooh, I like that. That's good. That's beautiful, beautiful. All right, so yeah, I definitely agree with that. That's awesome. So please link my or reiterate the ways that people can reach you if they want to contact you or find out more information about what you do.
Sure. So with the Aiming for the Truth event, if you want to bring that event to your city, shoot me an email and just put it in the subject line, info about Aiming for the Truth. I'll know what you want. I'll respond with the email format, and you can email us at NOC for no other choice. So NOCCCW, think about it like concealed carry weapon. So NOCCCW at gmail.com. And just put it in the subject line, hey, I want to know about Aiming for the Truth. I'll shoot you over the email about how you can bring it to your city. Social media contacts. You can look us up on YouTube. It's NOC Firearms Channel. On Facebook, it's NOC Firearms Training. You can also just reach out to my personal page. It's simply my name, Kevin Dixie. That's D as in dog, IXIE. Then there's also another profile on Facebook. It's KD, which I like to be called. So it's easier, more informal. KD of NOC. So KD of No Other Choice. On Twitter, it is No Other Choice Firearms. And on Instagram, it's at NOC Firearms Training. And those are all the ways you can reach out. And if you need to give us a call, you can call us at 314-699-4466.
Excellent. Yes, please, people, support him, follow him, reach out to him. He's a great guy doing some wonderful work, and I think we need more people like KD over here doing work like this, I think the world will be a more peaceful, civil, and prosperous place if we can, replicate this kind of education, this model. I think, the world would be a better place. So thank you very much for what you do, KD. Really appreciate the conversation. So if anybody wants to support me, the links are below. So this is Peaceful Anarchism on the Voluntary Virtues Network, on the Seeds of Liberty, the Seeds of Liberty podcast, and the Conscious Resistance Network. Wishing all of you have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this content and would like to see more of it, please feel free to donate and help me interview other fascinating people. You can do so through Patreon. That's patreon.com/peacefulanarchism to help me out. $1 a show is all I ask. If you feel so inclined to donate more, please feel free. It will only assist me in spreading the message of freedom and voluntarism that much farther and that much more efficiently. You can also donate to my Bitcoin. My Bitcoin address is in the description to my videos, as well as on my website, peacefulanarchism.com. And while you're on my site, there's a donate button to donate through PayPal. If you prefer to donate through PayPal, you can do so with that. But Patreon is a little bit easier for content creators, as you can set up a recurring donation if you so desire. Also, while you're on my website, peacefulanarchism.com, please feel free to sign up, enter your email address, sign up for my newsletter, and you will receive updates every time I post something, a video or an interview. I do not send out any spam. Or you can also follow me on Facebook under facebook.com/peacefulanarchism or facebook.com/Danilo Cuellar 3, I believe. Danilo Cuellar 3. So either one of those methods, if you are able to donate, I would be most appreciative. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you have a magnificent day.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up in any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com. That's getcell411.com.